Hello, gentlemen. Hope everybody's doing well. Just sitting here, enjoying the day. Very nice day out. It's starting to get much cooler. It's about 72 where I'm at right now. It feels absolutely wonderful. Even have the air conditioning on. I love the cold. It's my favorite time of the year is winter and fall. So I'm looking forward to it. I always feel much better whenever I'm in the cold. I'm kind of in my own element, right? So I wanted to make a part two to my last video, which is I titled it "Why Sex with Women is on Its Way Out." And I wanted to make a part two because I thought about some stuff last night. Didn't mention in the other video, but I want to go over why I am realizing more and more that the whole sexual interaction with women is kind of just fading. And it's partly due to the technology. Um, it's partly due to the fact that we have access to pornography. And some argue, well, porn's not that good, and it just kind of. Everybody has an argument against it, but in terms of getting through this bullcrap that we're in as a country, with the gender war and with the way that the society has decided to go, it's about survival. It's about, it's one option or the other. Would you rather go and have to pay money when you've realized that, you can save your money for something better, and that the modern day woman is just not worth your time? It's just not worth your time. It's just not worth it. I mean, I can't even imagine at this point. Because you see, part of it is disciplining yourself, and I've learned how to discipline myself, and I've been able to adjust with not having sex with women, not dating women, not being a part of that whole thing, and I have felt very liberated, if I want to use that word, to what I want to do in my life. I don't have to worry about anything when it comes down to being a part of the rat race of the modern day woman and the dating scene and all this bullcrap that a lot of people are just trying to figure out what's been going wrong with it, and they just are not having any luck. It's all about adjusting. You have to adjust. It's all part of the survival mentality, if you will. It's a lot to do with preparing yourself and prepping yourself psychologically and physically, and with items and things of that nature. Because it's all about adjustment. If shit hit the fan and everything went absolutely apeshit crazy, do you know how big of an adjustment you're going to have to make if you're prepared enough? You're going to have to make so many psychological adjustments. It's going to wreck your world, and a lot of people are probably going to kill themselves because they just can't handle it. So it's crazy, and even in our society today, little things are changing rapidly, and we have to learn how to adjust to those changes, because if we don't, we're going to be left in the dust, and we're going to be trying to make something work that is not going to work. You see, because part of survival is adjustment, but it's also part of learning how to walk away. Because if you know when to walk away, then you're going to save yourself time and money, and you're going to also learn how to discipline yourself enough to know that you have a gut feeling that says, you know what, I might as well walk because it's more beneficial. And some people don't know how to do that, especially with gambling. People don't know when to walk away when they're up or down or whatever. They keep going and going and going, trying to squeeze out every little bitty ounce of hope or luck that they can. But you can't bet all your chips on just luck and circumstance, because that's not tangible. It's only a mentality. And you have to know when to walk away when things get rough. And that applies to the modern day dating scene. That applies to interactions with women. The deal is down. We're down a whole bunch. And we have to know when to walk away, or we're just going to be caught up in insanity. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. How many men do you know that are caught up in insanity, the cycles of insanity? I know a lot of them, and I was caught up in that cycle for quite some time myself, until I've realized, you know what, I have to make an adjustment. I have to break away from you know, things that aren't benefiting me and only driving me crazy. So, part of why I decided to mention what I mentioned last video was because it's an alternative that works. The modern day woman cannot compete with that alternative, that option, right? We have the ability to watch any kind of porn we want, high definition, video, pictures, you name it. And then you got sex dolls that are ultra realistic, and you got virtual reality goggles, and you got all this technology that's advancing, fulfilling men's needs that are not provided, that the modern day woman is not providing or can provide but doesn't choose to. So what's the better option? Well, you move on to the next thing. You know, if a business is doing bad, they don't sit there and go, gee, I mean, this just really sucks, and, you know, we're fucked. No, they're going to figure out another option because they have no other choice. And so I apply that to our situation. We don't have any other choice but to adjust at this point. And as we hit this winter time, I'm going to tell you, I mean, you see, winter is interesting because winter changes people's mentalities because it's cold. It comes to show you how environment affects people a lot. Because when it's cold out, people tend to stay inside more. They tend to avoid any kind of thing that has to do with outside, and they stay inside and they do different activities, right? Their behaviors change as the environment changes. And same thing applies with the modern day sexual market value and all those other things that have to do with mating. And so I'm just here to say we have to learn how to adjust, and it will make the transition go much more smoother into whatever changes might come about. And this is a big change. You know, this whole thing going on that we've had to deal with for a long time now with feminism and all this bullcrap and all this hate and all this stuff, MGTOW has provided the solution to say that, you know, we really don't have to put up with it anymore. We're not going to. It takes discipline. It takes taking the red pill because it's a complete paradigm shift in behaviors that you've been raised since birth to believe in. But when they're no longer viable, it just comes to show you how brainwashed the mind becomes when it's told to believe in something that no longer is viable. And then at that point, you just become a drone. And I look at people today, and they're just drones. You know, going back to what I was saying about the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. I mean, our whole society is based in insanity. It's based in continuously doing things that are either not viable, and continuously doing and working and going and turning ourselves into drones, which is the point I'm trying to make. And so many men are caught up in the cycle with women that they're turning into drones. They're turning into mindless drones that do nothing but respond and react. You know, there's much more than life than just responding and reacting. You know, you don't have to keep yourself caught up in this cage, this mental insanity. What porn has done and what the technology in revolves to sexuality has done has opened up an alternative that we have to take advantage of, because it's going to help us not go crazy when shit really gets hard for these women. Not to say that MGTOW are going to have a flink of a blick of an eye, that who cares, but what I'm saying is that all the other guys that are struggling and still don't know about MGTOW, or they're still trying to get caught up in the beta mentality, where they're caught up in the cycle of insanity. I don't even want to say blue pill mentality. I just want to say that they're caught up in a cycle of insanity, because that's what it is. They're continuously doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. And they keep doing it, and they don't seem to get themselves out of that mentality. It's very liberating to not have to be caught up in that insanity, because you're conscious of it and you've decided not to go along with it anymore. It doesn't feel good to go and be caught up in cycles of insanity and doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different result. Because you know that there's something wrong and it doesn't work. And I'm here to tell you that the modern day dating scene, the modern day culture of women is just not viable. It's just not work. It's insanity. All of it is insanity. It's absolutely insane. The crap that you have to go through as a man trying to appease a woman is ridiculous. It's a pain in the ass. It's caused me nothing more than frustration, anger, and misery, and money, and time, and frustration. Those things I don't need in my life. You see, the easier that you can make your life, the less things that you can worry about, the easier it is going to be to survive. Because when you constantly have things in your head and your thoughts and worries and trying to keep up with all these different social facades, it's psychic. I mean, I like to call it psychic vampirism, because it's absolutely, it drains the energy out of you, and you need that energy because there's a long road ahead of us, guys. And what we see in this world, there's a long, long road ahead of us, and we're going to need every bit of energy and every little bit of stress-free, worry-free mentality and mindset that we can possibly have, because it's going to be a long winter. It's going to be a long road ahead of us. And the presidential thing going on, it's going to be crazy. And so whatever happens, we have to have as little stress in our life as possible. We have to have the ability to adjust quickly to any situation, or we're going to be, we're not going to, it's not going to turn out too well. So I'm telling all the young guys out there, especially the young guys, because I'm a young guy, I'm in my early 20s, but even younger, 18, 19, whatever, that basically don't waste your time with women. Don't waste your time with dating. You've been told since you were very young that in movies and culture you get a chick, you hang out, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's natural. But what has happened is the way that things have been structured at this point, it's no longer a good deal for you. It's not a good deal for your overall mental health, and having to put up with endless cycles of rejection constantly. Rejection builds character, but at this point it just becomes insanity, because there's no purpose to it. It just is an over-occurring thing. With the technology now, you have the ability to you have the ability to fulfill that sexual desires that you have with the modern day technology of porn and all this stuff. You have limitless options at your disposal. Women are not less the only option, okay? And things are going to get ultra realistic, and it's going to be completely different. Just give it enough time, and you're going to see a big change, and it's going to look really crazily real. And you don't have to rely on these women to fulfill that need anymore, because it doesn't. There are other things that can fulfill that need. They are not any more in charge of that need. The problem is that guys don't realize this. They can't discipline themselves enough to say, you know what, there is an option, and I just have to learn how to walk away from it. Like I said, when I was a part of all those dating sites and I tried to get chicks on there, let me tell you something. It brought me nothing but complete misery and anger and frustration. It was a waste of time. A waste of time. And I brought myself so much, oh my gosh, so much misery and frustration and what's wrong with me and this and that. And there was nothing wrong with me. I just didn't know enough about the situation. And now I'm able to sit here, have little stress in my life, little worry in my life, knowing that I no longer have to deal with that. That's just one more thing out of the way to allow me to live a simplistic life. I'm not a kind of person that aspires to own a Ferrari or live in a mansion. If I make enough money to do that, then yeah, sure, whatever. But it's not something that I am aiming towards. What I'm aiming towards is to kind of live a minimalist lifestyle, in the sense that I am not attached to owning the latest gadgets. Things suit me just fine. I have a nice computer. That's all I need. I don't watch TV. I don't watch internet. All I need is the internet and a computer. That's all I need. All right, that's my source to the world, right? And so in that sense, I am worry-free in a lot of ways. And when you take away the worry and the anxiety and the stress and all this frustration that these modern-day women have brought to men, that is one of the biggest stress relievers I could possibly imagine. And to this day, I'm still trying to realize how much of a stress relief that has really been on my life. Because I see so many guys out there trying to figure it out, trying to wonder why. How do you make it work? How do you, how do you make things work? And they're sitting there trying to figure it out. And I'm just thinking to myself, you're wasting your time and you're driving yourself insane. There's plenty of porn out there to satisfy that need. You got sex dolls, you got virtual reality goggles, and the technology is only going to keep advancing. So hang up the dating scene, hang up the modern day dating scene. Don't go on those dating sites if you're a young guy. It's a waste of time. There's other options at your disposal that are way worth the investment, are stress-free, worry-free, anxiety-free, frustration-free. You get what you need, you pay what you need, you make a good investment, and you no longer have to worry about keeping up with all that crap and being caught up in the cycle of insanity. Do that. If anything you do for yourself, don't do that for yourself. Heal the side of yourself that has to do with the side and cycles of insanity in your life. You're going to open up so much freedom in the sense of your mindset, and it's going to do you so well. And so one of the final thing I wanted to talk about, well, first thing I just want to say, I'm glad I quit smoking. I'm using my vaporizer. I'm telling you what, guys, you pick one up, give it a shot, see how you do with it. Part of taking care of yourself as a man is making healthier choices in your life if you're not doing so. And after a while, for me personally, I got so sick and tired of the taste of cigarettes. It just didn't taste like anything. It was absolutely just, repulsive to me, and it was just nasty. And so I quit. I just got tired of it. But, part of learning how to adapt and survival is to keep yourself as healthy as possible and break free from any kind of unhealthy ways, or at least start working on it. The final thing I wanted to talk about is the end result of what the pornography has done in good and bad ways, and also what technology is going to bring in the results of that in good and bad ways as well, the pros and cons of both. The modern day man has to put up with so much bullcrap as it is right now. The divorce courts, if you want to have children in marriage, marriage together, dealing with women altogether regardless, is a complete headache and a complete waste of time. The modern day woman does not know how to deal and think intellectually. They're vapid. Their ideologies that they believe in are completely fabricated and artificial. They're plastic people with plastic makeup looking plastic with plastic minds. They're moldable. They're nothing more than useful idiots in the sense of what they believe in. You can't have that when you have taken the red pill, because that's part of the matrix. That's part of the system mentality. You can't have that and expect that you're going to be fine. You can't expect that you can still be tasting the steak in the matrix like Cypher and still be, 1 foot in and 1 foot out. You got 1 foot in the matrix, 1 foot out of it. You can't do that. You can't do that. You have to shut it off completely. You have to shut it off. You have to break free of all chains. Not have one to the ankle and the other rest of your body is free. Are you truly liberated at that point? No. The pros and cons of what the alternative of porn has brung. is, or brought, is we no longer have to be caught up in the cycles of insanity like I was saying earlier. The cons of this, though, is that a lot of people argue that you're actually buying into the system because you're still engaging with real women who perform real sex acts on camera. Well, yes, that's true to a degree. So, in a way, you're still going to have the women being on that end. But you're not paying money, and you get what you want, and you no longer are liable or obligated, I should say, to fulfill that social norm. And remember, most social norms these days are just artificially created bullcrap. And let's see what else. Now, the technology. The technology, I think, is, as I've said multiple times, is constantly advancing. You see, the thing I keep saying is that women cannot compete with this kind of technology because they're not, the technology doesn't backtalk. It doesn't believe in artificial mindsets and fake ideologies and taking selfies of itself and always on its phone. It doesn't worry about that. It performs a function. And, you know, I see the world today, and I think a lot of people are starting to be driven into the survival mindset because, you know, jobs are hard to come by. You know, the politics are always changing, when laws are always changing, and how we live our life in this world is constantly changing. And so at some point your mind shifts into a survival mindset because you can't just prepare long term because things change so quickly. So you're just focused on the here and the now, which you should be. And so when you have the ability to have that stress reduced, at least to a degree, you can break free of something that's holding you back. And I think what's holding a lot of guys back is just this whole being affected deeply by the feminist agenda and how women have treated us. And I said in a video, you got to move on from it. And we can move on from it. You know, we can do it. And there's plenty of alternatives out there. And as Bill Burr would say, just rub one out. There's plenty of ways, and it doesn't, you know, it's so high tech now. You're going to have a much more realistic experience. So that's all I had to say, and I hope everybody has a good one.